Hey, it's TDA and welcome back to Captain of Industry. Last time around I fixed all my water problems by actually setting up some nice little water facility over here. And I did actually clear enough ground now that I could actually maybe copy this twice now and replicate that over here once we need it. But for now that's not really what we want to do, because this time around I want to start focusing on steel. Why? Well, if we look at the technology tree, steel smelting I've already researched, and we're going to need steel in order to make the construction materials type 3. Construction parts 3 is what they're called apparently. Anyway, in order to make those, we are going to need to make some steel, and in order to make steel, we actually don't need that much. We just need some molten iron. We then add some oxygen to that, and then we add some more water to that, and voila, we have steel. Now the problem with this is that, well, we are using all of our iron over here, so I'm going to need to set up a new facility to do what I want to do, which is making steel. Now, there's a couple of things I want to note though, because right now my logistics are not working like I want them to, and I'm going to have to fix that first. The main problem that I have is that these storage units are not working like I want them to. So initially I set them to basically to the default setting, which means, well, sure, they get filled up, but they're not actually being emptied, so stuff gets stuck in here basically. So what I want is that the trucks initially put it in this storage, but then go and dump that stuff wherever I need it to go, which is not happening because right now, as you can see, it just fills up and that's it. If there's no active request for dirt anywhere, as far as I know, nothing is going to happen. What will happen is that any remaining dirt that I now mine at this particular location will get dumped if I allow it to be dumped. But yeah, that's not really what I wanted to do. So let's go and fix that. I have some ideas, been thinking about this a little bit on how to do that. Okay, so in order to fix all of that, let me also start kind of redesigning how I'm using my dumping, because, well, honestly, I think we can be a little bit more efficient about that. Right now, as you can see, this is a giant landfill, which is not ideal, and I kind of want to fix that. I have been just dumping at random, and honestly, I don't have too much problem with that for the moment. But I do want to kind of see if we can make this more structured, because I want to turn this land over here into fertile land, hopefully, so we can start farming there and stuff like that. So I am going to have to do some redesigning. Now, in the meanwhile, I kind of blocked off my path here for my trucks, so I'm filling that in just with whatever I can find. But in the long run, I want to fix this slightly different. Okay, so what I'm planning to do is I actually want to dig this top layer of waste off and then just start putting all of that stuff in here. So we have a slightly lower land area with just a single land area just above the sea level. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to, first of all, make that as big as possible, and then I'm going to start dropping off dirt on top of that. As far as I know, if I understood the tutorial correctly, that should turn into fertile land by doing that. And look, my excavator's just arrived, so we should be able to do that just fine. Then the second thing I want to do, and then you can see that happening over here as well, I am going to dump all my dirt over here. So I'm just going to collect that until I'm ready to start making that nice and fertile land. Seems like a lot of work in order to just get stuff where I want it to go, but I'm hoping it will pay off in the long run. Okay, so how about this setup? I have a loose storage over here with dirt that is actually just going to receive the dirt, and it's exporting directly into the next one, which I set to empty just a little bit. I want to store most of this dirt. Then same thing over here, I have something that will receive the rock, then it's going to go into this one, and this is going to be completely empty. So this is trying to get rid of all the rock that is automatically pushed in here by this thing. Now I have just a simple limestone over here, that's where I'm going to save up my stuff. Oh, it's actually delivering the dirt here now. Well, I guess that's okay. Yeah, that's actually just fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the routes to go here. And then hopefully everything I'm mining from this particular excavator will go into these 3 storage units if I understand these export routes correctly. Now the idea is that that will keep the trucks from driving around all over the place, just going to be delivering it here. So I actually need less trucks at my mining locations, and then I can use the random trucks that I have driving around to bring stuff wherever it needs to go. Now I'm just going to repeat the same thing at every single mining location. I'm not entirely sure if there's a more efficient way to do this, so again let me know in the comments. What I would ideally want to do is kind of have one place where all the random stuff goes, like rocks and dirt and stuff. At the same time, this kind of achieves that already, with the difference is that I also kind of don't want to have my trucks driving all over the place, so this might actually be the most efficient way. Not entirely sure. What I am sure about is that I have way too many trucks at my coal minings now, so I can probably halve the number here. Let's just go with that first, see how that works out. That frees up a massive amount of trucks to do, well, random tasks around the place. And I'm also upgrading these storage units just to make sure that I have plenty of space to store all my dirt, as well as the other resources that I'm actually gathering. Meanwhile, the way I'm looking at it now is that this will actually start exporting things in a kind of like, I'm not entirely sure what this is called in English, but it's kind of like a small area of land that sticks out from the mainland. The reason I'm doing it like that is that hopefully that will allow me to build more things like docks and stuff like that. I am wondering if I'm getting in the way of my ship though. Doesn't seem to be the case. It seems to need just this area to export, so I'm not entirely sure what that red area is that is showing over here. I mean, what is that doing, and why is this green? Why is this red? I have no idea. Anyway, I'm just going to go and try and see how this works first. Honestly, this also means I might be able to free up maybe an excavator. Might even be able to free up two, but I'm actually going to assign that to my random mining operation over here, so we can start cleaning that up. Now I realized it a little late, and you will probably see this happening with my excavator now, that even though trucks can drive under things that with a height of 2, excavators can. So this is actually going to go all the way around my entire base in order to reach this area over here. Now, generally speaking, that's not a huge problem because excavators typically don't go driving around your base all that much, but it is something to take into consideration. And in hindsight, I'm not entirely sure I should have built these things up high. I might have just built them on low on the floor and then build a ramp over it. Might have been a little bit more efficient as well in terms of making roads, because as you can see, my trucks are currently driving all over the place. But if I would have done that, it kind of funnels the trucks in certain directions, which might be helpful if I ever want to start building roads. Well, on the right side, this area has almost been covered. I'm actually thinking, I didn't consider this when I initially did this, especially considering I was low on iron, but you can actually make a floor out of iron as well, which is probably a lot cheaper to do than making it out of concrete, which needs a whole lot of other stuff. On the other hand, concrete needs a lot of stuff that isn't really used for other purposes, so yeah, not entirely sure about that just yet. Okay, now my economy is fairly stable and everything is actually driving around and doing stuff. Next on the list is the actual steel. Now, you can still see the truck standing still here, by the way, but that's just because I'm actually producing way more coal than I need, which is mostly because I'm filled up on most of the construction items which we are going to be spending rapidly right now. And the real question is, where am I going to build my iron making facility? I might actually just build it... Thinking about building it over here. I might also want to keep this open for some steel production. Honestly, the answer is it probably doesn't really matter. Ideally, I would want to keep everything nicely aligned and stuff, but that's probably not going to happen anyway, because I need more iron production soon probably as well. So yeah, I'm just going to go and pick a location and go with it. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be smart about this, hopefully, and actually design the facility first and then just kind of feel out what would be a good position to place it in, because you can just put this in blueprint mode or planning mode, start building, and then of course just place it down wherever I want. And I've kind of been doing that already with the water facility in the previous episode, which actually turned out really nice because I just designed it and then I just scooted it over and placed it exactly where I wanted it when I knew exactly how large it was going to be. So I'm going to do exactly that with a pretty simple steel production facility. Well, actually this is not going to be a pretty large facility anyway, because all I need is a blast furnace in order to make the molten iron. This is 24 per minute, so I can actually do a 1-to-1 ratio with the oxygen furnace, which is going to turn that into molten steel. I need oxygen for that, so that's 18, but this air separator produces 36 of that, so that means I can use one of these air separators to fuel 2 of these oxygen furnaces. And then I just need a single cooled caster for each oxygen furnace in order to make that into steel. I'll just need to add in some water. So I just placed these down just to kind of do the math. But this is a pretty tiny facility, and all I'm going to need that steel for, well, I'm going to need it for several things actually. But this is going to be producing 12 steel per minute, which is quite a lot already. And then that is actually going to be turning into the construction parts 2. And I think it's a 1-to-1 ratio. Let me check. So yeah, I just placed down an assembly line just to make sure. So actually I can use the construction parts 2 that I already am producing, add some steel to that, and then we're done. So actually I don't need all that much space. I can just add in another assembler over here maybe. And that Bob's your uncle, pretty much. Now, I do need to take into consideration that I might want to double up on this facility at some point. Maybe doubling up is a little bit extreme. How are we doing on maintenance? Let's see. Maintenance needed was about 224. I'm producing 480, and that is actually quite a lot. We actually have a secondary recipe now, where we are producing maintenance and what? Recyclables. Ooh, so it's the same inputs, it's identical inputs actually, and we would be producing something called recyclables. Well, don't get distracted, TDA. We definitely need to look into that at some point, but for now, let's just get focused on getting the steel up and running. Okay, so let's design this thing. We need some iron ore, we need some coal, and of course we need some slag output. Now, I decided to mirror these 2 blast furnaces in such a way that the slag is going to go in between, all above, and then into this storage unit over here. I'm actually thinking we should build this this layout somewhere over here, and then just feed the slag into the already existing slag facility we have over here. Now, there is potentially a problem with that, by the way, because at some point I might get into an issue of having too much slag, but then I can always just start dumping it if that is actually the case. Now, that means that this part of the facility is done, and now I need to work on the remaining part. And then everything combined, it looks something like this, and honestly it's pretty straightforward, other than the fact that there's a whole thing with the pipes going on here. Mostly because I wanted to try one of these large smokestacks. Now, I'm not entirely sure why you would want to use a large smokestack rather than just a couple of small ones. Other than the fact that it looks really cool, I guess. I'm just hoping that this might actually require less maintenance. Not entirely sure that actually works that way. But let me know in the comments if that is actually the case. Other than that, well, using them because they look cool is plenty of reason to do so, I believe. So I'm not entirely sure how I managed to mess up my lifts, but I actually just found out that the lifts going from the iron into the construction parts facility are actually floating up in the air. And as you can see, I just rebuilt them and now they are going to be connected just fine. But actually the bottom part was floating 1 tile above the ground. No idea how that happened. No, I wouldn't even be able to replicate that, but that was massively slowing down the production over here, because as you can see there's stuff on the belts, but that was not actually going into my facilities and it was waiting for trucks to do that. So, weird little bug, I think. At least I think it's a bug. Not entirely sure what else it could be, but yeah, that's definitely going to be an issue if that happens more often. However, in the meanwhile, the steel facility over here seems to be working just fine. We have a little bit of everything going in. I really like how these buildings look, by the way. Just look at that. We are now melting the iron into the facility that is also supplied with oxygen, and that seems to be working just fine in creating some steel. Now, is this one actually doing anything? What are you waiting on? Oh, you are actually producing already, and there you go. Look at that steel just sliding off onto the belt and then into these warehouses over here. Now, of course, this by itself is not actually producing the construction parts 3. but I can easily just grab the ones that I have over here and then combine them. Let me think about this for a moment. Where do I want to actually start making this stuff? Honestly, I'm probably going to relocate that pretty soon anyway once I start expanding further, so I might just as well make a temporary facility to make that stuff. And that means I'm probably going to make it just right over here, just to make sure that I have it all nice and local. So it's not gonna win any awards for looking pretty, but what I've done now is actually just replaced my storage facility for the Mark II construction parts, and half of that is being split off and feeding into this assembler over here, which is combining it with the steel that I'm now producing. I'm also stocking up on some steel just in case. I probably need it for other stuff as well. And now I have slowly a storage unit that is going to be filling up on Mark III construction parts. Now the real question is, how many of these do I need? Well, the answer is quite a lot actually. Now what I could do, I could actually just boost this for a little while. I have the Unity in order to do so, so that's not really a problem. And that should take care of a little bit of Mark III construction parts. Now the real question is, how much of this stuff do I need? So again, let me know in the comments. The answer is probably more than I've now built. Although it feels like I've already built quite a bit though. I am producing how much steel per minute? 24. So in theory that could also give me 24 construction parts per minute. That actually doesn't feel all that bad. I mean, I realize I need construction parts for pretty much everything, but considering how long it actually takes to build stuff, 24 per minute is actually not all that bad. At the same time, I'm not actually producing 24 per minute, I'm only producing 6 per minute, because that is how many assemblers I currently have. So at the same time, I also need to make sure that I don't overdo it, because I'm actually still boosting here as well. I actually completely forgot about that. But I am producing only 24 construction parts 2 per minute, and I'm going to need twice that much if I want to keep up with producing the construction parts 3. Numbers, things. Okay, so basically that means I will probably need to scale up a huge amount of this. Now the nice thing is I have been recruiting workers in the background, so I am slowly increasing my population. I'm also slowly losing out on some food, which is something I probably should take into consideration as well. So all in all, my excavation here is actually going pretty well as well. I can now actually move around my research facilities, and I've lowered the terrain over here, so I could start putting up a top layer here. And look how my landfill pollution is doing. At -5 at the moment. Actually, I'm losing most of my health due to water pollution. Don't think there's too much I can do about that, honestly. The air pollution is also not that good. All in all, I'm not doing very well in keeping my people healthy at all. Now, I am wondering if the weed that I did discover by now, and I can actually start researching, does that actually help with that at all? Can I tell? I can make weed into flour and animal feed apparently, and then the flour with some water into bread. Sure. Does that actually gain me anything though? Not entirely sure. I can make air pollution. I wish it would actually tell me. I can also do some corn farming, some organic fertilizer. All of that is probably going to be a pretty good idea, but I'm going to have to do that in the next episode, because this one, I'm trying to keep every episode to a specific goal, because otherwise I'll just get distracted. Look at all my things zooming around. Why is that? Why is everything zooming around so much? Because it is extremely busy. I am just not entirely sure why that is. Is that just because you're trying to... Oh yeah, okay, so you're actually trying to empty some of these storage units over here. There is a lot of rock waiting to be dumped. I had a bit of a hiccup here with, again, my dumping, but now I cleared that up. I'm going to go in super dumping mode, apparently. Well, anyway, that means that all my trucks actually have something to do, so all in all, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Anyway, if you're still here, you are awesome, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.